Hello, and welcome to another week of the Abuse Cartoons live stream. So a little bit of music and at the introduction there while you're waiting for the stream. So let me know if that's annoying or not. But I guess that's a little bit better way to judge the health of the stream and know that it's getting started. And I'm not sure about the volume. It seems pretty loud, but yeah, just feel free to let me know in the comments or messages how that's going over. But so that'll be at the beginning and the end, so hopefully it'll bookmark it a little bit and kind of begin and end things with a little bit more energy. I think just that silent card is a little was a little still and uninteresting and low energy, and if I come on even lower energy, the whole thing seems to be very lethargic, and hopefully that'll help the energy a little bit and hearing that and coming on. So I'll put the credits for that track in the text, the description text of this video. And yeah, so here we are for another week. So a new day. I think this is probably going to be the new regular day for a while. So I guess we were doing Monday night and now we're doing Tuesday night. Not that I think it's particularly going to make much difference. This is the best time for me to do this, but it's not really the best time to to get people to watch live. I think it's a little bit of an awkward time, especially if you've got school or work the next day. But we'll keep trying this. And of course, remember, there's a big old archive of these things to go through. And yeah, let's, I guess, get started. So warm up a little bit. I didn't come today with anything that I was obsessing with or thinking about, so we're just gonna kind of have to draw through that. But last night I did watch the oh my god, the director's name is blanking. Danny, the Hong Kong director, the guy that did Shaolin Soccer and Kung Fu Hustle. Oh my god. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna Google this live on stream. I don't even care because I'm tired of not knowing. Oh, brother. Right. Anyhow, this is ridiculous. Stephen. Oh my god, why am I saying Danny? Stephen Chow. Yeah, the Stephen Chow movie. So, yeah, and I'd seen a while ago. I guess I'd seen some of his other movies. I never saw that sci-fi movie that he did. Oh, so sorry about that. That's a Stephen Chow. Yeah, so we watched The Mermaid from like 2016 or something, a couple years ago. Last night for the podcast to be celebrating that Mermay. So we did a creature feature, mermaids, mermaids, I guess, merfolk, and that was the movie we chose. It was a rough one. Yeah, it's amazing the tastes. It explained a lot, I guess, as far as why China likes the Transformers movies as much as they do, because wow, that was a rough one. Just very, very over the top. I was surprised how and I guess I remember this. It was just maybe the story and the tone and everything. I wasn't expecting it, because the other movies, his other movies, I guess I was a little bit more accepting of the tone because it was just kind of silly, and this was more of a romantic comedy. So especially the love interest, the girl, the mermaid, in the film was doing a lot of over the top acting and comedy and pulling her face and doing all kinds of strange slapsticky things, and it doesn't let her stay very pretty. So I guess I'm just used to the the movies where the female lead stays pretty pristine. So it was very interesting. But I can see a lot. I can see a lot more that it has, the sensibility has a lot more in common with Bollywood and some of the comedy that I've seen in Indian movies and Bollywood movies. So that was interesting to me, especially the kind of musical number, the couple singing, and there was a little bit of the main character dancing a bit, but not the lined up organized rows, but just as humor, as part of his character. But yeah, it was interesting where the money was spent, and they didn't spend it on the CG. It looked like something that a kid put together on his laptop, and they chose to do some to use CG for some things that they didn't really need to further reinforce how bad it was. I don't know, very strange, but a lot of cut out, obviously frames of people cut out in Photoshop and kind of matted, a lot of really bad compositing and really clumsy. And the story was just silly, but yeah. But I think the podcast is worth listening to, and it's interesting to kind of come up with to be coming up with ideas about how to play those kind of characters, and always those mermaid stories, or a lot of the mermaid stories and the fairy tales, have a lot to do with the kind of clash of two worlds, or characters being between two worlds. And the funny thing is the human is almost always male, I guess because it's a lot based on a lot of sailors, or a lot of those myths come from pirates and sailors, so it's very male thinking. So but even in comics and things, the father is almost always the human. So it'd be nice to see that reversed a little bit, and see if that changes the dynamic or makes anything work a little differently. But just as a little sneak, as a little preview, so we were talking about, things like the constitution of the sea people is always considered much greater, but their home world always has a little bit of fragility. So there's sometimes they're defending or protecting their home, and like in this version of the mermaid, there was the kind of ecological pollution and killing of sea animals and things, that part of it. And also they touched on an interesting idea that it needs to be kept secret, like the existence of these people needs to be kept secret. And there's people that their life's struggle has been to discover them for maybe selfish reasons, or for genetic modification reasons, or whatever. But so that was an interesting thing, and I think one aspect that we don't see a lot, maybe in like the Shadow over Innsmouth, the Lovecraft story, where it needs to be a secret. Like it's like a horrifying secret, of course. It's like a nightmarish secret in that story, but the existence of those creatures, it's important that that's not known or believed. And yeah, so that's a part that they did. Yeah, interestingly, there was something interesting there, but most of it was pretty silly and so over the top. It's funny that I forget where else I noticed this, but there's kind of an odd aesthetic in, I don't know, I guess maybe I've seen it in European movies too, and maybe it is just kind of a shorthand, or a way that that filmmakers just get things across to the audience as fast as possible and kind of save themselves some time. But that ugly people are funny and stupid, and beautiful people you have sympathy for, and they're always intelligent and likable, and you should care that they get together or they get what they want. And that's a funny thing. That's a very odd thing for me. What's going on here? It's an odd thing to watch, that Oh, I should probably do this to watch that kind of play out. Because, then if you've got that shorthand, then you don't have to, you can be really clumsy with your character development and storytelling and things, because of course everyone's going to love the pretty people and not like the ugly people and think they're stupid and laugh at them. So that may just be like a, almost a theater, kind of like a, I don't know, like not vaudeville, but, just like a populist theater kind of aesthetic. But it's a little overpowering in these movies because they don't earn, the characters don't earn your sympathy very well. And most of the time they remain incredibly unlikable. But because they're the most attractive people in the story, I guess you're supposed to care about them. So I don't know if that's a cultural thing or a genre thing, just because I think each culture has a different idea about how movies work and how they fit. Wow, I've got some serious registration problems here with my stylus. The bottom of the screen, that's a little scary. Wow. All right, well, we'll try. Okay. But yeah, that was something that I noticed. And so, I guess once you can get into it or kind of accept those choices, it's okay. But for the most part, that's pretty hard for me to get past. Is, pretty people deserve things, or you care about what happens to them. And always, sometimes there's, pretty villains or, other love interests or, kind of competition, something that's going to complicate or break up the love story. And they're not always ugly, but, they are sometimes older or not as expressed as innocently or as purely. So obviously they're bad because they're not young. They're more sexual, or they're more there's just something negative about their motivations that gives them their ugliness, even if it's not physical. So yeah, I don't know. It's a little hard to watch, but yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, I think it's on YouTube, so if you want to give it a quick look. But it's just amazing it made so much money, and it sounds like the part of that had to do with kind of how they back end the payment, they kind of guarantee the money to the producers and directors and everybody. They guarantee the money ahead of time, so the movie is already, the budgets aren't astronomical. They're hundreds of millions, but it's not insane, so that they can guarantee that money back. So it's almost like a no risk thing for the makers of the movies. So the brunt is the marketing and the thing that needs to be handled is on the exhibition, and so how they market the movie and getting people excited for it and getting everybody they can into the theater as fast as possible. Kind of that opening weekend disease that Hollywood has is reinforced by this weird business model that they're using. So they're minimizing risk, which is, I think, a very Asian thing. I noticed that a lot in Japan, that minimizing risk is like the most important thing, and people make very, I guess that's why the Japanese were kind of difficult to deal with in the 80s business-wise, because they wanted to do things on a very low risk basis, and that's kind of different from American aesthetics. But yeah, so it's creating a weird. China's going to have the biggest opening weekends we've ever seen if they continue to finance their domestic movies that way, because all of the weight is on the exhibition and to get people out there into the theater, which makes sense because piracy is so insane there that I don't think there's not going to be streaming or home video revenue domestically in China for these movies, because everyone's just going to steal it. So I guess that makes that necessary to put that much pressure on the theatrical exhibition. But yeah, so we suffered through that for Mermaid and maybe drank a little bit too much. So our creature features a little flurry, but entertaining nonetheless. So yeah, hopefully I'll get you a link to that soon, or you can just go to the Outer Red Hands YouTube channel and find that when it's there. Oh, but yeah, so, and I'm not a really I mean, you know, I guess we're doing it for the hashtag, but I'm not a real fan of these themed months and trying to get people to you know, illustrators or creatives or whatever to theme stuff towards mermaids. It's like you know, it's the lack of imagination. It feels like the, you know, weird summer camp thing or whatever. Okay, kids, let's all do this activity together. So but in, you know, in this social media age where you're getting attention and stuff, like I did last year, I did Inktober. That's another kind of themed thing, and they literally have like a theme a day to do. You know, draw a picture of, you know, despair or falling or, you know, whatever. But so that's not very interesting. But, you know, you do get a lot of new people seeing your stuff if you have that hashtag. So that's why people are doing it. Get those followers and views and likes and stuff. So we shall as well. So yeah, there's no there's no mermaid. I can't believe I'm even thinking this. There's no mer-based thing, merfolk-based thing that I could possibly do with this cartoon, but that doesn't mean I won't try. Ugh. Yeah, I don't know. God, I say these things and I have these values and these supposed stances and opinions against these things, and look at this. I'm drawing a fishtail right as I'm disavowing doing these sorts of silly things. Yeah, I think I'm going to need to recalibrate. I think the driver is a little weird. I thought it was okay, but it's off. Where I'm putting the pen, it's not right. It ain't right. But okay. Yeah, so as far as like creative topics, the one thing that I was thinking about that I kind of ran in, so I came back from the Design Festa, the Tokyo Design Festa, from this weekend. So it was Saturday and Sunday. So that was a fun show. It's such a gigantic, amazingly gigantic show. And we were in a bit of an odd section this year because it was kind of the and the rest kind of section. We usually are in with the illustrators, but we have a lot of books. And so people that go into, a lot of illustrators don't sell books. They just sell postcards and prints and things of their work, or, you know, original work or whatever. And so we did the illustration, book, photography, video, others haul, which was pretty eclectic. And I don't know if it helped or not, but it was a little bit odd. But people, I think, were expecting books a little bit more, so that helped. And Tokyo is always much more interested in books than Osaka for some reason. I don't know. There's not a huge difference in the weather or anything that would explain that, like you kind of have in the Northwest in America, where there's so many bookstores and readers and strong coffee. But yeah, so that was good. And but something that kind of came up that I had the experience with, there were kind of people, I watched people kind of hustle, kind of, you know, promote themselves and push their careers and stuff, you know, looking for opportunities. And so I just thought I would talk about that as a topic. I think you know, success in a creative field that you want to do involves you know, having your skill at a certain level, being able to perform, and then the timing of when that's going to happen. So that timing, a lot of that timing is luck, but when you get your chance, you have to be ready for it. And those sorts of things, it's important to understand that, you know, when pursuing those careers, because you have no idea, and it's probably always going to be the worst possible timing, you know, when you're the busiest or the sickest, or you just started a new, you know, day job or whatever. that these opportunities, present themselves. So you're always doubling up and working extra hard and making yourself miserable, suffering for your craft. And, but that's just how it is. And the more you're kind of expecting that, the more you're anticipating that, I think the better you'll do. So, working hard and getting good technically, and, being able to produce at a decent rate and be adaptable, for people's changes or, criticisms, making revisions of things if it's commercial, is important to learn how to do. But another part of that is kind of making those opportunities happen. And I think a lot of people, and this is probably my bias, but I think a lot of people think that it's all hustle and no talent, and it's all bluster and talk and making your own luck, making things happen by just kind of forcing your way, kind of, bull in a china shop into certain opportunities. And for the most part, I don't think that's ever going to serve you well. Because the opportunities you're going to get, the people that are going to fall for that, or the opportunities that are going to come from that, are probably not stuff you want to even be doing anyhow. Real companies and real clients, and they're not going to be bullied. They're not going to be bullied by that kind of nonsense. So when I see people doing that, it's kind of, maybe no black there. It's kind of frustrating because it just creates kind of an uncomfortable, situation. I mean, you want to get your stuff out there, and back in the day, it was all about submitting to companies, submitting packets. And especially when stuff is unsolicited, there is, zero to no chance that anybody is ever going to take a look at it. I mean, unless you're specifically applying for a job opening, or, an open call or some kind of review or something, there is almost no chance that if you send something unsolicited. There's always these stories. There's always anecdotal things about, how he who did this, whatever. But I would say for the most part, you want to be present, you want to be involved, you want to be doing shows, you want to be meeting people, but you don't want to be pushing yourself so hard that you're going to end up closing more doors than you're opening, just by people not reacting well to your approach. That kind of used car salesman way of promoting yourself is it's pretty ugly. I mean, I guess maybe some of that does work online, because there are talentless people that obviously have just gamed certain algorithms and things, and gotten views to become popular, that have no reason to be out there. So who knows? It's a funny thing, but I would just caution you against the hard sell, because being on the inside of that, being on the other side of that for a while, and hiring people and doing things, it's a big turn off. And the people don't see as much of go-getters as they do mercenaries, so that they're available to the highest bidder, and they will they'll perform for you as long as you can pay. And who knows when they're going to take what they're doing with you, or what they started, and try to sell it themselves, or try to benefit from it themselves. So yeah, I would just say that be careful with that, and be careful how you're coming across, because when you're young and kind of full of energy, I think it's easy to think, well, I'm just gonna have to rush in here and shake everybody's hand, and hand everybody my my URL or my portfolio or whatever, and make sure I get there. I think I've seen some artists approach it really well, especially at conventions and things, where people will take the time, if they're in a small press area, or like Artist Alley or whatever, well, they'll just take the time to go through, introduce themselves to everybody, and give them something. I was given a nice kind of pamphlet from a Taiwanese illustrator one time in San Diego, and I never forgot him, because he was so friendly and charming, and kind to present himself, and always enjoyed following his career. And he ended up doing has ended up doing pretty well, and so I guess maybe his first time in North America, he took advantage of that and did well. So I think, you know, getting yourself out there is worth it, and just be sure that you're coming across well is the most important thing to consider in that, because I've seen so many people with the hard sell and handing people the, you know, DVD of their work and all this, you know, like basically a press kit, like handing people a press kit, and then that thing just going right in the trash as soon as the person leaves, as the person's gone. So yeah, just be aware of that, and be aware of how, I mean, you can, if you're going to do that kind of hard sell thing, be prepared for the kind of work and that kind of treatment, that kind of harsh treatment coming back at you, because that's how you've presented yourself. But anyhow, enough of that. I don't know what half fish joke I could possibly have. But anyhow, yeah, so that was something that I thought I would mention, because I saw some, and it wasn't, Japanese people don't do that so much, so it's not really going to be, you know, it's not going to be the Japanese illustrators that are going to do that. So it's the, you know, it's the foreigners that are going to hustle and push themselves hard and think that they can, you know, kind of bully their way into situations. And just be cautious of that. Be careful how you're coming across, because that you might lock yourself into a certain type of work or a certain type of, you know, professional relationship. And, you know, the expectations and things that come with that. Oh yeah, ooh, look how far I'm off. I guess you can't see that. Yeah, but I'm really far off. I'm gonna have to recalibrate. And I restarted, so that may be where this is coming from. Yeah, whoa. Yeah, I'm gonna have to be careful. Okay, now I'm in the GeForce experience. I don't know how I did this. No thanks. Boom. All right, we're having a GeForce experience there. I triggered that somehow. It was magical. But it's all over now. So I guess you know what kind of video card I have in this machine after having that GeForce experience. GeForce, wow, that was the name on a couple of versions. I think it was, so that was the name of the group, the Gatchaman group for Battle of the Planets, those scientist superheroes. You gotta love that. Super scientists. Those characters were scientists. They were scientific superheroes. Yeah, so Battle of the Planets was I don't know if that was, yeah, Harmony Gold or Sandy Frank, one of those great localizers of Japanese media from the 70s and 80s. And then I think Turner bought that, and it was released on Cartoon Network as just GeForce. And a little bit, you know, to a different dub and maybe a little bit different editing, because I think when Gatchaman came to America, there was I'm getting confused now, but I think there was a drunken. Oh no, I'm thinking of something else. But there was violence and maybe references to alcohol or whatever that they cut out. So that's why they introduced Seven Zark 7, that robot living under the sea with that robot dog. That's why they introduced that character, because they had to cut so much out of individual episodes that they weren't even a half an hour. You know, they couldn't, even with commercials, make them a half an hour. So they had to pad them out and kind of explain things a little more gently, maybe to kids, you know, kind of say, and now they're going to go here and do this. And so then you don't have to figure anything out. Because watching the original Japanese versions, they're a lot grittier and the fight scenes are a lot rougher. And yeah, it's not such a kiddie show. Maybe it's a, you know, teen show in Japan. But yeah, the designs, the you know, the monster designs, the, you know, monster machine designs and things, are costumes and characters are so great in that show. I love those aesthetics. So yeah, so my video card reminded me all of that. But that's a very interesting thing. Oh, come on. It's a very interesting thing in Japan is to finally get to see some unedited versions of some of these things, because you don't realize how much we're cut out for the American TV market. And as you know, people were complaining and people were adjusting to the cultural differences, because I think there's probably even, I'm not sure about Gatchaman, but some of the shows there's nudity, there's at least toplessness that they definitely needed to cut out. And it's always like shower scenes or whatever in TV anime in Japan, but even in Japan that's gone now too, or at least censored. So they've even had kind of taste of changes of standards in Japan and on Japanese television as well. So let's get back to the layers. Okay. So yeah, that's very interesting, and maybe even on YouTube you can get a little bit of a taste of that. I think people put up raw copies of Japanese original Japanese versions of anime without any dubbing or anything, because I think the dubs are owned by different people and those get taken down pretty quickly. But sometimes the original episodes will stick around and you can see a little bit of the different content, which is always interesting, and how standards have changed, because that was the 70s in the US. There wasn't nudity on TV, but the standards of I guess for children it's always been kind of conservative, but the alcohol use and violence and things, I didn't think it was so conservative, but could be. Wow. Yeah, I'm really missing the target on a lot of these, so I gotta reset this, but I won't torture you with it. I will just keep at it. So we need a mer joke, don't we? Maybe not for yesterday, but for tomorrow. That might be good. Hashtag mermay. Oh, wow. So the mermaid and the creature feature mermaids on the podcast. And so, I was kind of up late last night doing that, and I'll be up another late night editing that. So that should be fun. But so Design Festa. Yeah, that's a crazy show. I would recommend, if you can come to Japan, come to Tokyo. It's twice a year. So this time it's in May. I think it's May, and is it May and I don't know, May and October or something, May and September. 2 times a year, and one we usually miss because it overlaps with one of the comic shows, either the Kaigai manga or now I guess the Comic-Con. So that's fun. So that's fun to get that stuff out there. And mermaids. Wow. So let's turn some more of this off and keep going. Ugh. Whoa. I made a group. I didn't make a layer. Oh, that was fun. I think I've only got one goldfish joke and one poorly drawn goldfish bowl in this whole cartoon. So I think it may be worth keeping this stream shorter and the energy higher, so because I'm not editing this, and so that's what I can take advantage of when I do videos or podcasting, that I can edit that. Oh, speaking of the song, the music that you heard and you will hear again. It's so off. That you will hear again once I sign off here, was originally intended to be the kind of opening music for the podcast, the abuse cast that never happened. And I think I've already explained that it was It was an attempt because I was already working on the Idle Red Hands podcast, so I had a little bit of a handle on, technically what I would need to do. But then when it came to actually doing this, sitting and talking and drawing, yeah, it was horrifying. It was, just sleep-inducing, just droning. My zero personality reared its ugly head. It was just a lot of okay, just unlistenable garbage. So it took a while to kind of lighten up and actually find a decent way to put energy into this conversation and be able to work and not be annoying, because that's kind of the I wish this was an aesthetic that everybody kind of, or a choice that everybody lived by, but do something that in the style and the tone and the content that you want to see, because maybe nobody else would be doing that. And then you're just creating more of the kind of things you like out there in the world, and don't just choose a tone or a character or kind of come across just trying to pander or serve a certain audience, or be, just trying to be popular by doing things a certain way. I mean, some people are just, that's inescapable for them. Just as people, they're people pleasing, and they're doppelgangers that really, only live to get reactions from people, and like, I'm being the way you like me, right? And I'm talking like how you like me to talk. And so there are people that's just built into them. But I would suggest anything that you do, writing or drawing or music, anything, of course, just make something that you would listen to, that you would enjoy. And that's going to be, I think, a way to guide yourself, so you never quite get lost about where you are or who you are creatively. I think that's always a good rule of thumb for creative people, and to not pander, not try to anticipate a market or I think there's so much of that now, because everything is so digital, and we've got numbers and demographics, and I mean, the amount of analyticals you have just with like a YouTube channel and Google is crazy, and you can really bend yourself over backwards trying to figure, oh, well, it looks like we've got a lot of New Zealanders watching, let's make sure we talk like this or make this reference or whatever. But I think that's a silly thing to do. So it took me a while to figure out how to kind of do this. And I think not only the horrible sound quality, but if you listen to earlier, it's hard to get comfortable, and it's hard to do two things at once. I'm kind of patting my head and rubbing my stomach doing this by talking and drawing, because I've never been some people have always been or do like that, the kind of performance artists, the drawing as entertainment. There's people that do that, like, so caricaturists and stuff in the tourist areas and stuff. They'll do small talk and have conversation and make it a more of an experience. And watching them draw is kind of attracts a crowd and maybe gets them more customers and whatever. And so there was a booth not too far from us at this show, where the woman was the very kind of standard amateur manga artist, and of course she's wearing a beret, because that's the thing. I don't know, I think that's a Tezuka Osamu Tezuka thing, like that was his look or his thing, like glasses and a beret. So that's emulated a lot in Japan. People that I am manga artists, they wear a beret. And they're not afraid. So anyhow, I don't mean to tangent off of my tangent. So she was drawing people just very standard, not very interesting, very just standard marker caricatures, but she would do a voice. She would do this high squeaky kind of kiddie anime, very female anime kid voice while she was drawing, and say funny things to try to make people laugh. And so it was very much a performance, but really hard to listen to. And some of the booths that were immediately near her or were facing her so they could see what she was doing. The look of disgust on their faces was priceless. Just, oh God, yeah, she's got another customer. It was amazing. But yeah, so there's a Design Festa memory. And the other thing, oh yes, so as I was leaving and kind of, packed up my stuff and was pulling it away, the end of the runway show was going on, and they have a runway set up, so they have a combination of dance and fashion and kind of, maybe acrobatics and performance and stuff. So there's a lot of student groups and stuff that are maybe fine arts schools or dance schools or whatever that perform, and it's very Asian themed. The whole show, the aesthetic is very Japan, very Japanese, and most of the booths and exhibits are very Japanese artists. There's very few foreigners there, and this was a very interesting thing because this cultural appropriation thing keeps kind of coming up on the internet, and it's basically just it's always a very clickbaity thing, and because people know, especially guilty white people can get offended and want to preach and tell people what to do and not to do, but people from those cultures don't really understand what the dynamics of that and what people are getting upset about. But I don't know if I should even talk about this because this is going to live forever on YouTube. But it was very interesting to watch, and almost a weird parody. So there were a bunch of kids in black, martial arts outfits, kind of like sleeveless gis, and the kind of silky black karate outfits. I don't know, with borders of fluorescent color, so fluorescent yellow and hot pink and green, and so all of the edging and everything in their headbands were the fluorescent bright color. They all had matching nunchucks, and they're all doing this nunchuck routine to the Mortal Kombat kind of theme song. And it was just such a over the top, overly super Asian funny thing, but in a very stereotypical way. Like, if these weren't Asian people doing this would be incredibly offensive, because it was just so cheesy, over the top Asian. Like, nobody was there was nothing pure or interesting, or they didn't push it any way. It was just like something you'd see at like a student, like a junior high school talent show or something, just something very cheesy and funny. And then that was immediately followed up by people in giant panda heads and Chinese dresses doing jump rope with some more kids, and it was just so over the top, like stereotypical kind of saccharine, super for the tourists kind of thing, Asian. And it's an interesting aesthetic. I guess it would be the equivalent of the kind of red, white, and blue, like somebody dressed as Uncle Sam and shooting guns and smoking cigars and whatever, just like this weird over the top portrayal of a stereotype of your culture, but putting that out there as entertainment, or as I don't know, because it's an art show, it's a fine arts show, it's all students. There's installation and live drawing, and it's not very commercial. Like, it's a lot of art students and amateurs and people that are doing fine art. So to have such a tone deaf, kind of weird, super Asian display, and it struck me as so odd. I'm not of that generation, so I don't have that instinct to whip out my phone and record things, but it would have been a great thing to record, because it was just odd. It was just mind blowing. Like, who is this for, and who came up with this? I mean, the level of thought and it was just odd. Yeah, it was very, very odd. But it made me laugh, because so rarely, kind of being immersed in Japan, so rarely do you get hit with that. Well, that's really cheesy Asian thing. Things I'm just used to a lot of things. Just kind of, things that maybe as a tourist my first time here I would have noticed, just pass me by as like that's an everyday kind of thing. But to see this Mortal Kombat nunchuck performance was just too much. Yeah, just so funny. So I think a lot of people don't really understand like how those things work. So Mortal Kombat is this weird, glorification of kind of ultra-violent chopsaki kind of, martial arts tournament, but very westernized, and all of the characters, there's some Asian characters, but most of them are white or American styles of these like ultra-violent martial arts fighters. And that's come back, to Japan, and they kind of, embrace that as, some effect that they've had. You don't really know. You don't know how people see that. So when people are offended by, use or appropriation of things, I think it's culture, and especially pop culture, is inherently trashy, and it just inherently passes back and forth. And you don't know. There's no way to know what's in someone's heart and why they are doing something that they're doing, other than it's attractive to them. So instead of this appropriation, I think somebody answered, it's not cultural appropriation, it's cultural appreciation. You just like it, and maybe you don't know why, and you don't know why the aesthetic, it's just different. And as long as you're not demeaning or pointing out that difference means that something is less than your culture, or it's ridiculous, or it's to be laughed at, if you're not mocking something, then it, all of this appropriation stuff is just ridiculous. Because nobody knows what's in someone's heart. And so I guess if you're going to be hyper protection, you want to protect every group and everybody's sensitivities and opinions and things. Yeah, you should never do that, because you'll never know if someone is secretly laughing at, at what they're doing, or how they've dressed, or whatever, if they think that they're being ridiculous, or they're acting like a clown. Because I guess America might be extra sensitive to it because of the issues of blackface and minstrel shows, and the characters, the African-American characters, portrayed as buffoons and funny, so that it's like they're looked down upon. But the same thing can be said for the rural characters. And I don't think, I think if we looked at it, I keep doing that. If we looked at it honestly, I think a lot of that, it is the rural character. It's just these performances, these theaters that are doing popular performances for cheap tickets for mass audiences, but they're in cities. They're usually in cities, and so they're going to make fun of the bumpkin. They're going to make fun of the person that doesn't understand the city, that's simple and silly and stupid. And so, like, all of those stupid characters, those ugly, stupid characters in The Mermaid, they're not racially different, and they're not being teased by their race, but they're definitely being insulted by their looks and their, intelligence. They're definitely looked down upon for humor, but that's an acceptable way to kind of do things in certain cultures, and it's not damaging. I don't know. America is such a funny, unique experiment, isn't it? Yeah, so being in Japan, these kinds of things do seem funny, because Japanese people are very open to Western people wearing kimonos, or loving Asian culture, and decorating their house in silly Asian styles in their American houses, and funny Asian styles. And they don't see any of that as appropriation, but just appreciation, or they just like that aesthetic, and they like to be liked. And especially because Japan has such a strong, soft empire, they've embraced that. They don't mind, people handing that stuff off. And then it comes back to Japan. You have things like the Powerpuff Girls, and things that are just weird exaggerations and reinterpretations of, anime styles, these giant eyes, little girl superheroes, giant eyes. And that comes back to Japan, and they embrace it. So yeah, it's really hard to say. And I just think it's a symptom of our clickbaity culture, and how people want to generate outrage. We have this whole economy, now based on clickbaiting outrage, and people aren't honest about it. They're not, they're pretending that they're good people, looking out for the little guy, and making themselves look better at the same time. But there's just money. There's just too much money in doing that now. And yeah, it's just getting uglier and worse and worse and worse. Ugh. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting thing from the show, is just seeing that silly, like, super Asian exhibition, and not in a, because Asia has their classical performance arts, kabuki and no and rakugo and bunaku, the theatrical classical arts that, you know, you have to be an apprentice and takes many, many years to master. And then there's also just this silly amateur expression of, you know, here, this is super Asian, you know, on stage. And that's yeah, it's an interesting contrast and an interesting thing to see. And it just struck me as, wow, nobody sees this or really even would know how to react to this in the West, because this seems like something that people would just jump all over as, oh my God, what are you doing? And I'm sure within the subtleties and differences between, you know, Koreans and Japanese and Chinese, they have some of that where they're frustrated and unhappy about how things are interpreted, because they have their ancient animosities. But yeah, I guess not that ancient, but we'll see yeah, how that goes. But yeah, so I thought I'd bring that up, and who knows, I've talked about ridiculous things that are way beyond my capacity on this stream already, so apologies for that. Okay, wow, this has almost been an hour and I've gotten nowhere. Damn. Okay, let's try a little fish food. Ay. See, you say these things and then you draw fish food. But yeah, it's a very funny mix of things. Jeez, yeah, I'm way off. I'm gonna have to definitely play around with this before next week and get these things working better. Because yeah, things are definitely odd, and I don't think I need this. I'll draw that. I'll do that myself in colors so the eyes aren't so strange. Well, maybe an edge to get me started. There we go. All right. Oh. Yeah, let's see here. I'm thinking, yeah, maybe I can oh my God, yeah, I think it's the registration. I gotta just mouse some of this stuff. I can't click stuff because it's off enough. It's off, you know, like about 5 centimeters. So when I'm clicking buttons, and especially small places, it's not registering correctly. Great. Enjoy. So I'll draw some funny, overlapping, decorative marbles. And hopefully I can make these look how they're supposed to look. Yeah, they need to, I think, be somewhat transparent. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so maybe in the lighting I can do some more interesting transparency. I want these to be kind of even so it reads as marbles and not something else. Yeah, oof. Pretty close. All right. Yeah, I bumped something. 'Cause I got weird problems with lining things up here. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so I think we'll go with feeding an empty fish bowl. I think that was pretty funny. So the marbles were decorative, making the feeding symbolic. I don't know. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so that will be yesterday. And then myrrh something? I don't know. What do we got here? So keep these and turn all this on. Huh. More? Boom. Oh yeah, I was drawing packets of things. Okay. Let's try some of this over here. And off and on. Okay. So, that fishtail, I like that. Yeah, I don't think I came up with anything that goes incredibly well with the fishtail, though. Sorry, I'm kind of weirdly off camera here. But, okay, so what are we doing here? And where's, oh, I don't have to worry about where that tail is. I can just grab it. Okay, so the tail is there. Actually, let's do that so I don't have to keep looking for it. And I don't know, maybe this can? I like the lemon. Yeah, I don't know. Wow. I'm trying to think out loud here. So this thing, no. And I like that packet. Not in love with that one unless I need it. Or that one. And maybe I don't need this. Boom. Oh, wow, I didn't know I could even do that. Select two things and have them make sense. Oh. Sorry if that scratching is too loud. The microphone is right there, so pretty sensitive. Okay. Oh. All right. Oh, sorry about that. Is that going out? Sorry. Sorry if that's going out. Yeah, just hold on a minute. Okay, sorry about that. There'll be these interruptions, I suppose. Okay, so let's get moving on this. Actually, I think let's just go boom, 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 boom. Uh-oh, where's that lemon? Okay. Yeah, it needs something else, though. Yeah, this needs to... yeah, I don't know. This isn't going anywhere. All right, what's this tail doing? That's maybe my least favorite packet. All right. All right, a little distortion on this. Try to make it look there a little bit more. All right. Ooh, I'm getting that program error thing again. That was fun. Okay. Wow, there we go. Okay, so let's go with these guys. Hopefully I can do some nice, something nice looking on the coloring. So let's try that now. So yeah, kind of bluey grays with the fish. Try that. And wow, nice. And light yellows for the lemon. Lemon, light yellow. Yeah, we're not seeing the skin there. Maybe just gray for the package. Wow, why is everything taking so long? It's strange. Okay, and let's color some of this. So I think so, maybe leave some of that yellow at the edge. And this, and then just some highlights, and maybe here. Oh, wow, it's so off. There we go. Okay, and maybe I'll just go through and do a little bit of this now. Okay. Wow, here's the silent part. Yeah, I apologize for Not having much to say. Ugh. It always does this. I think you can, and I'm sure no one has made it to the end. As soon as I stop talking, I'm sure no one has been there through that. All right, and then let's try some shadows. Yeah, I got bad registration. Under parts of the fish and the tail, and maybe separate some of these a little bit. The fin. And the side of this guy. I think he's going to need some other colors or labeling or something. All right. So let's do that just above here. Whoa. Yeah, so maybe bump. Oh, I'm not going to be able to do this, am I? I guess, kind of. All right. Yeah, clicking is just not working. Okay, and I do think I want to go... Oh, yeah, jeez. I think I want to go some green or something to blend into that. I'm not sure what fish this is supposed to be, but it's fish-like. All right, just for the tone. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Wow. Bring this down a little bit. There we go. All right. There we go. All right, there we go. Maybe a little bit more here, here. Get some of this defined a little bit more. Yeah, I'm missing something here. Okay, that works. Okay, mermaidy. And this guy. All right. Okay. Wow. Am I there? Okay. Yeah, I guess so. Let's try a bright yellowy orange color here. And this will just be white. Okay. Okay. And I think the marbles... Oh, okay, wait. The marbles are going to have to be white as well. But turn this off for now. And maybe the bottom layer too, so I can see what I'm doing. Just fill these guys in because I'm gonna need them for the, you know, kind of masking. I can always go over the lines. So these are going to be glass marbles, so that means some of these lines I want to have to continue so you can see them through. Okay, there we go. Hope that was on the right layer. Guess I need to thin some of these files out. Yeah, that should have been fine. Okay, so turn the bowl back on. And we've almost got everything except whatever that is. Okay. Yeah, that should work fine. Then I think I'll go in another layer and put the color of the marbles in there. So new layer, going through marbles. Yeah, there's definitely a better way to do that, but we'll see. Okay. And then another layer where I want to take the, kind of do a bright version of that blue, and then continue some of those circles, the shapes, in a little bit thicker way. Oh, wait. Still here, okay. Right. So just kind of continuing some of these marble shapes so we get a little bit of an idea of the transparency of the marbles kind of coming through. I don't know if that's going to read so well, but yeah, maybe. It's a little tricky. And then, of course, I'm going to put some real hot highlight. Jeez, I can't rely on this at all. Okay, and put some real highlight on these guys. I'm going to have to, I think, do something to brighten these up a little bit. They look weird. Maybe just a duplication of that blue layer and another better color choice. Okay. Oh, Jesus. All right. I cannot select anything with that stupid, the stylus the way it is. Okay, let's get these kind of behind and in front of each other. So just making some kind of random choices here. Okay. All right. Whoa, that's not closed. Well, all right, and then yeah, some more coloring here. Yeah, let's put the, oh man, this is so frustrating. Okay, let me put the background back on. And maybe a little bit more as far as the line of the bowl. All right. Okay. Well, let's see. Something like that for the lid is fine. Or actually maybe here. This can just be filled. Okay. Then we'll do gray. Jeez. This is not going well. Okay, and back to these shadows. I don't think there's, maybe that would work. Yeah, kind of give this shape. Okay, and then let's go do this one. And maybe this for the top. Maybe not. Oh, it's not drawing anything. Okay. Okay, and then some. That's white or gray? Okay, there we go. Okay. And I've made another group. Jesus. Alright. Yeah, I'm going to have to get that solved. That's really annoying. And maybe okay. Something like that. It's going to be hard to put, sorry, I keep hitting the mic stand. Putting, yeah, trying, oh, there we go, something more electric blue. Yeah, I don't know. And actually, it might just be better to come up with a bright blue color for all the marbles. Oops. Darker, but yeah, something along those lines. Just to give them a little different look. All right, and then I guess on top of that, I'm gonna want some gross fish flake color, which, yeah, probably needs to be pretty bright. All right, and then let's put some shadows underneath that. Put these on there. And maybe some, that's not much to pop them up a little bit. Okay. All right. All right, we're not putting eyes on all the marbles because that's silly, but I think that works. Oh, microphone. Okay, yeah, I think that works. Okay, so let's write some of these up and get you guys back to your lives. There's been too much watching this stream. All right. Can I edit some text? Oh, nice. Playing for 0 viewers. I love that. I love that. I love that challenge. Whew. Okay, there we go. Okay, the marbles were decorative, making the feeding largely symbolic. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, making the the marbles, the glass marbles were decorative, making the feeding largely symbolic. Whatever. Oh, it's so goofy. Okay. Let's check that spelling. Yay. All right. All right. All right. The glass marbles were decorative, making the feeding largely symbolic. Okay. And, oh, this is the one that I have no idea. So they were convinced they were dealing with the bottom half of a mer something. Convinced they may have been, yeah, maybe they may have been is better. They may have been double V's, everybody. They may have been dealing with the bottom half of a mer something. It was possible. Yeah, I think I like that better. It was possible they were dealing with the bottom half of a mer something. It was quite possible. Quite possible. It's accent I'm trying to write. Mark Twain style. All right. It was quite possible they were dealing with the bottom half of a mer something. There we go. Hashtag mermaid. Okay. Oh. It was quite possible they were dealing... Is that an extra space or just strange kerning? Strange kerning. Okay. Okay. It's quite possible they were dealing with the bottom half of a mer something. And... Uh-oh. The glass marbles were decorative, making the feeding largely symbolic. Okay. That works. So that is where we are this week, May 15th. Happy May. Whoa. Thank you for joining me. And I hope this new day and time works out. We'll see. And yeah, so you can follow this cartoon on Twitter and Facebook and all those good places. The YouTube channel is where I archive this stream. So it's highlighted on Twitch and archived on YouTube. And yeah, so follow me there. And then abusecartoons.com is the website. And if you would like to support this ongoing nonsense, I think I'm in the process of kind of rewriting some of the patron levels and making it make more sense. What I want people to you know, just have access to more of the cartoon and to the books and any supporting materials and things that I'm doing with this, and as well as, you know, very regular streams. So if you if you are interested in getting involved, please consider supporting this cartoon on patreon.com/abusecartoons. And I will be back next week, and it's just something that just never ends. I'll be back next week, and probably this same time. So I guess for the US, it's going to be a Tuesday night thing for a while until I kind of figure out how else this can work into the schedule. But maybe Monday, because Sunday night. Yeah. So if you have any preferences or any thoughts about that, please let me know in comments or direct messages about timing for this. And I will see you all next week. So that music is coming up again. Please let me know if that is terrible, and or if you like it, if it gives a kind of a bookend or kind of a little bit of closure, a little more closure to this. And I will see you next week. Goodbye.